you think? Good. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, July 22nd, 2019, and I'm headed into work for the day. Already dropped Grant off, and the subject on my mind for today is the topic of synchronicity. I believe it was a concept introduced by a psychologist or psychiatrist, one of the two, named Carl Jung, J-U-N-G, and it just talks about basically like the ability to, sync with life, or obviously be out of sync with life, and that just seemed to be the out of sync part seemed to be this whole entire past weekend that we just finished. So all of the plans that I wanted to do just got shot to hell all weekend. Everything I did was, swimming against the current, running uphill, running against the wind. It was just like, wow. I mean, it was just getting absolutely ridiculous. So this weekend, prior to this weekend, I wanted to camp. I wanted to do it just in the backyard and all that. So it was just an idea that I had, and it was supposed to be, a warm weekend. So I'm like, okay, cool. So Friday comes, and it was, what was it, upper 90s or something like that. The feel like on Friday was supposed to be like 105 degrees or something. And I was like, okay. So we were sitting out back and Friday night with my parents, and they had set up the kiddie pool, and it was nice and cool and stuff. And I'm like, wow, it's really nice out. I'm like, maybe we should do this camping thing. And Grant's like, let's do it. Let's set it up. I'm like, all right, fuck it. Let's do this. So, I dig out all the camping stuff out of the crawl space. It's a bit of a bitch. And I sit there and set up the tent. Grant helped me. He went through all of the camping bins and got all of the lanterns out and set up the, put the batteries in them. I always remove the batteries from the lanterns so that way they don't explode, because we only go camping like once a year. So I got the tent set up, and we get the blow-up mattresses, because I got 2 new blow-up mattresses. We get the blow-up mattresses, and we sit there. I set up the tent Friday night. I got the mattresses blown up, got bedding or sheets on the beds, everything. Get it all set up. We even did a campfire Friday night. We made some s'mores, and while we were making s'mores, I was like, this isn't a good sign. So basic s'mores are graham crackers, marshmallows, and chocolate, like Hershey's chocolate, like the candy bars. It's a basic bare bones s'more. And I started assembling the s'more, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. The chocolate, as I was sitting there, was like melting, like in the candy bar case, or in the packaging. I'm like, oh no. So it was still pretty hot. Friday night we didn't try to get to bed until after 10 o'clock, and it was like 10:15, 10:30 when we tried to lay down. I didn't have Sophie out because I knew it was too hot for her. But we tried to lay down Friday night in the tent, and it was like 88, 89 degrees out still at 10:30 or whatever. I'm like, fuck, dude. So we laid down. After 2 minutes, I'm like, Grant, this is too hot. I can't. I was sweating laying there. So he's like, all right. He agreed. So we went in. We went into the house and slept in the house Friday night. So then Saturday came, and we were supposed to do, what was Saturday? So Saturday we were supposed to go, so Friday night, on a whim, I kind of signed up for the Demolition Derby thing. Not signed up, but bought tickets, and they were not cheap. They were it was like $75 for tickets for 3 of us. So Saturday comes, and we realize it's going to be freaking hotter Saturday. And Nikki's like, she can't do heat, and she can't be outside, and she's got allergies and high blood pressure and all kinds of shit, to the point where I was just like, what the fuck did I just do? So I spent all this money. So I'm like, all right, well, what are some ways to make, being outside in the heat more bearable? So we started going around. We went to Walmart, and then we ended up going to Target. But I bought these like water bottle things that spray like water mist on you, and also have a fan, so you can like mist yourself and then blow, you know, the air on your wet face or whatever. It cools you down. So I bought all this stuff. I spent probably $75 buying all that stuff. I bought water bottles that mist. Grant had one already, but I bought some for me and Nikki, and then I bought 3 of these fan mister things too. Okay, so $75 later, and we got some stuff to keep cool. So we, you know, Nikki had her. I'm tying all this into the synchronicity thing, but Nikki had her audition Saturday. Started at 10 a.m. and she was there until almost 4 p.m. and she didn't eat lunch. So with the heat and with her and all that, then she said she wasn't feeling good because she hadn't eaten all day and all she had was breakfast. And she's like, oh, I wish you were closer. You could have brought me food. I'm like, I wish you would have just said something sooner than like 2:30 or 3. Like, I could have brought you food. Like, what the hell, dude? So basically, she had to bail on the Demolition Derby Saturday night because she wanted to go home and sit and whatever. I don't know. Eat. I don't know. The Demolition Derby ran so late she could have still came. She could have went home, ate, changed, showered, napped, and still come out and met us. But she didn't want to do that. So, still not quite happy about that. I was like, wow, okay. But whatever. I'm so used to it with the shit Vicky used to do. Like, Vicky was just like, what the fuck, dude? Vicky, like, the one day she passed out at the range on training day when we went to the range, and she's like, one time she like passed out in the hot tub because it was too hot for her, and she just like faded out, and we're like, what the fuck? Anyway, I don't know. So, yeah, so Nikki missed that, and it was supposed to be hot as shit out Saturday night still. We got there was this dark, like, storm cloud system rolling through, and I took pictures of it, but it, like, passed over us and dropped the temperature 10 degrees, and we had a nice breeze, and it ended up being, like, perfect Saturday night to be at the races. So all of the bitching and moaning that Nikki had, none of it even mattered. It was fine. It was beautiful out. So, yeah, so we left there. We left the races, and that was another thing, so with synchronicity. So, like, everything just, like, wasn't going quite right. So they started the races and all that, like, an hour late almost, Saturday night. So we left there at, like, 10:30, but we had to leave, like, super early compared to them. Like, they were supposed to have fireworks. They were supposed to have, like, a whole nother, like maybe 25-30% of racing to still do, but we left early. So we didn't get home till about 11. We get home, and I'm like, wow, dude, it was like 77 or 78 degrees Saturday night. I'm like, it's a lot cooler tonight, bud. You want to sleep out in the tent? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So it was cool enough to even bring Sophie out. So all 3 of us stayed in the tent Saturday night. And then Sunday we woke up, and, you know, I was up a bunch during the night and Saturday night. Sophie had to go pee twice, and I had to go pee a couple times, and I had to get Grant up to go pee. But anyway, we, you know, so we got up really early because, you know, with the sun rising and all that in the tent, bright as fuck. So Grant helped, and we packed away all the camping stuff Sunday morning after we woke up. It was like, we had it all packed away probably by like 8 a.m. And so we, what was I going to say? So we got everything packed away because I told him, like, Grant, it's supposed to rain at some point today, and this was yesterday. And he's like, all right. So then, what did we do? So we went... I feel like we went out shopping yesterday, but did we? Let me think. Oh, we went out and picked up We went out and picked up some donuts, and I asked him, I said, hey, what do you want to do today? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, you want to go hiking? He's like, we just went hiking. And I'm like, all right, well, like, what do you want to do? He's like, I kind of want to ride our bikes. And I bought the bike rack for the back of the car, and we hadn't used it in a long time. So I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, let's do that. So we're like, well, where should we go? And I'm like, I don't know, we can go to a couple of, like, the nature preserve places that have paths and all that. He's like, oh, and so then I mentioned it to Nikki, and she's like, oh, do you guys want to come out by her? And she has that really nice park with that big lake that her and I go and walk around all the time. And she's like, it's really nice to ride bikes at. I'm like, oh, that sounds like fun. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So she's like, well, see if you can get here by like noon or whatever. So it was actually like a little after noon when we left the house, and we got to her place before 1. But I had to, install the bike rack on the back of the car. I had to air up all 3 bikes' tires and all that stuff, and then strap the bikes to the holder and all that. So it took a while, but I got everything going, and we were supposed to eat lunch together. And then she's like, should I eat? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, dude, just eat, so like we don't like have an issue like Saturday where like she can't do anything because she's hungry or I don't know, sick, whatever. So I guess she ate something. So then we get there, and then I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go for lunch. And she's like, well, I'm not really hungry. I'm like, what? She's like, well, why don't we go ride bikes first before it rains, because it's supposed to rain, and we'll get something like after or whatever. And I'm like, oh, great, because she was going to dinner with her mom or something. I'm like, what the fuck? So we go to ride the bikes, and we were literally riding for maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes. We only rode maybe a mile. And it just starts pouring on us yesterday. And I was just like, what what is happening? Like, what? So, like, we parked in our pavilion to stay dry. And we were under the pavilion for 10, 15 minutes. And then it finally, like, lets up. And we're like, all right, let's just go. So then we start to go pedal. And then it starts pouring while we're, like, riding back to the car. And I'm like, wow. She's like, well, should we go back to the pavilion? I'm like, no, like, we're already wet. Let's just go. So we go. We get to the car, we all jump in the car. I had a cooler with snacks, so we're all like chilling in the car. It's still not really letting up, so I had an umbrella in the car, so she held the umbrella while I loaded the bikes onto the bike carrier on the back of the car. Then we go get some lunch and all that, and we're all soaked. And then of course, like, drop her off, come back home, and when we get back home, everything's dry, the sun's out, it's nice warm out again. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. So Grant's like, let's play baseball, let's play Nerf guns, all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I am exhausted. Like, Grant almost fell asleep in the car on the way back. And I'm like, dude, I'm tired. So I went and, like, after we got home, I unloaded all the bikes. I put them back into the storage. I pulled out the cooler. I unloaded everything in the cooler. Dumped out and emptied out all of our water bottle misters and all that, the little fan mister things, all that crap. Got everything kind of situated, and then I went in and just like laid down, and at this point I was actually dry. I was completely soaked from when we were riding, but like everything was dry. So I did change and laid on my bed and passed out. So I must have slept for like an hour and a half, or almost 2 hours. I was fucking dead. It was crazy. So Grant comes down, he's like, are you awake? I'm like, what? What day is it? Where am I? And, but much needed nap there. So, yeah, so then we ended up eating pizza. My parents ordered pizza, that was nice for dinner. Got Grant a bath. And then we watched about like a little more than half of the first Harry Potter. And that was cool. So Grant really likes it. He's excited. We're going to finish that movie tonight. But just in terms of synchronicity, it's just like everything was off all weekend long, and I was just like, why? Like, those are the weekends that just piss me the fuck off. Like, nothing goes right. It's just a bag of shit. Nikki had a funeral thing to go to last night, so we could only see her for like 2 hours. Rained the first half of us hanging out, and then we even went to Culver's for lunch, or whatever it was called. Like at like 2 or 1:30, I don't know. And their air conditioning was broke. But it's probably a good thing because we were soaked. So if it would have been colder in there, we would have been freezing our asses off. But I'm like, what is going on here? What is happening? So it was just like, I don't know. It was a weekend. I'm just like tired, and I'm just so used to this sort of stuff happening all the fucking time that like I just sit there, I see it, and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it, dude. We're just gonna push through. Like, it's all you can do. So just sit there and bitch and moan about it, or just fucking barrel through that bitch. But still sucked, you know, and I don't know. I don't know if anyone else understands it. I don't know if other people go through like days or multiple days or weekends like this, but god damn, it just sucks. You know, every single moment I got my mom talking to me, my dad talking to me, Grant talking to me, and then Sophie pushing her bowls because she wants food or water, and then I'm trying to message somebody on my phone or read something or whatever, and I'm just like at my wit's end. I'm like, why? Why? I mean, at some point, I'm going to be by myself, quiet, and I'm going to miss these days. It's crazy, crazy days, but until that happens, man, I just get so overwhelmed and people don't understand why. They're just look at me and they're like, what's the matter? Like, why aren't you happy? Or I'm like, fuck. So I try not to hold it against other people or take it out on other people, but man, sometimes it's just hard, you know, like yesterday morning we had donuts for breakfast, and you know, trying to coordinate this bike riding thing or whatever with Nikki, and she was just like, hey, can you just stop and pick up lunch on your way here? And I'm like, fuck that, dude. I'm like, I'm working on 100 things right now. I even did laundry too. So I packed up all the camping stuff, laundry, taking care of Grant, getting the bikes ready, getting dressed, showered, everything. So basically, I ate donuts at like 9 or something, and I had to eat again at like 10 because I was starving and just a crabby asshole. But man, I'm just like, wow, just tired, run down. But it was good. Everything's good. It was alright. I'm just happy I got to see Nikki. I'm going to see her tomorrow and Thursday through probably Sunday or something like that. So I'm not quite sure what the plans are for this week, but it's going to be it should be a good week. So I'm tired, but I guess that means it was a good weekend. I did sleep well. I got about 8 hours of sleep last night. Working on trying to get up earlier in the summer here so I can get to work on time. So it says I'm going to get to work at 7:57, and that should be a good thing. Usually I'm rolling into work at like 8:30, and I'm like, wow. So they don't really mind, but you know, I just hate making that the habit. You know, like I'm already leaving work at 4, which is technically like an hour early. So I don't know. Stay tuned for more.